Hello student, today we are going to discuss about the CSS. So in the previous lectures we have learned about some important HTML tags. So how can we write the HTML tag in HTML file, and that file can be accessed through the browser, that we have understood. Right now, what does CSS do? Right now, why do we need to learn the CSS? Let us understand. CSS, that is Cascading Style Sheet. It is a style sheet language used to describe the presentation of a document written in HTML or XML. CSS describes how elements should be displayed on other media. So after we have learned the HTML tag, now we need to understand the CSS language. So we access the web pages through various media. Media means devices, that is computer, desktop, laptop, mobile phone and tablet. So those are the media, or you can say the devices through which we access the web pages, or you can say we access the websites through those media. So now CSS will describe how those HTML tag will appear, so that it can have a specific shape, size, color and other style. So CSS describes how the HTML elements which we have learned in the previous lectures to be displayed in certain media. So we are going to use the cascading style sheet over those HTML tags, or you can say those HTML elements, so that those HTML element will be displayed in different kind of media having different style, shape, color and so many other attributes. So by using the CSS we can manipulate the default property value of HTML tag. So there are mainly three ways of writing the CSS. Let us understand. The first way is inline CSS, by using the style attribute inside the HTML element. So we can also apply the inline CSS. So how to apply the inline CSS we will understand practically today. So in the HTML opening tag we can add the CSS style for that specific HTML element. We are going to discuss the practical session today only. So another is internal CSS. So by using the style opening and style closing tag inside the head section, we can use the internal CSS, or that is also known as embedded CSS, right? And the third and final one is external CSS. So by using a link element to the external CSS file, so inside the HTML document we can link to a external CSS file. So here by external CSS means we will write the CSS property and value in an external file, right? And that file will be linked with the document using the link tag, right? This is how we can write CSS in three different ways, that is inline, internal or embedded, and the last one is external, right? So I hope you have understood. Now let us start with the practical session. So we are going to start the practical session. So we are going to use this text editor, that is NetBeans IDE 8.1. So download this text editor, right? This is open source text editor. You can find and download this from Google. Before you install this text editor you have to also install the JDK. So JDK is a software, or you can say a application, that is the prerequisite requirement before you install this NetBeans IDE. So I will show you using this NetBeans IDE, or if you are comfortable with using any other text editor, let's say Notepad or Notepad++, you can do the same, or you can execute the same language in those text editor, right? So first thing I will do, I will minimize this text editor. I will create a folder over here. See, I will name the folder as CSS class, right? And inside the folder I will create the file. So how to create the file? Let us see. So file, we can see file, then new file. I will create a new file. So now you can see over here other. I will go to the other, right? Now I will select this HTML file. So in the right side window I will select this HTML file, right? First I have to select the other from the left window, and now from the right window I will select the HTML file. Okay, previously this was selected. Okay, so once this was selected, only we can find this particular file, that is JD file. So I want to select the HTML file. So for that I have to go to other, and then in the right panel I will select the HTML file. After that go to the next option, okay, right, and give the file name here. So I will give the file name as CSS class. So you can see, or I can also give the file name, any file name you may give. I will write here type of CSS. Today I will discuss the three types of CSS, that is inline, embedded, or the external. So let us start. So this is the file name I have given, and I have to also locate. So you can see folder location here. I have to locate. See, so I told you that I will save the file inside that folder, CSS class folder, which we have just now created. So how to do that? See, inside C I have to write the full location of the file along with the folder. See, C drive user bit2, right? Here I will write desktop, DESKTOPY, because that file is kept inside the desktop, and desktop is always kept inside the user. Okay, and this is the user, that is bit2, and bit2 user is kept inside the user folder. Let me show you from the here. So this is the folder explorer I have opened. Now see, inside computer I will go to C. Inside C you can see this is the users. So inside the users this is the bit2, and inside bit2 we have got the desktop. So we have reached till now. You can see the location, C drive user bit2 desktop, C drive user bit2 desktop. Now here I will write, just check the folder name. This is CSS class. So here I will write CSS and then CLASS. Can you see? So in this location you can see here the location is created, created file in this particular location under C user bit2 desktop CSS class, and now this is the file name. You need not regret to give the file name. The file name will be created automatically. You can see dot extension, dot HTML extension has been added automatically to this file name which we have provided, right? So you can exactly match the location. You can see this is the location. Here the file will be created. Let's see. Now I will just go to finished option, and once I have done it, you can see in this location the file has been created. So this is the file we are going to work with, right? Now let me start. So let me delete. So if you create the file using this netbin, this section will be automatically be created by the netbin text editor. So if you want to add code along with this few given lines, you can continue. I will do but I will delete all the thing. I will make it by my own, right? So let me first write the root element, that is HTML. So this is the root element HTML. Inside this I will write the head portion, and this is the head portion, right? And I will give a title to it. Inside the head I will put a title, right? So TITLE, title. Let me give a title name. Let's say CSS class, right? Or you can say first CSS class. This is the title name, and under the head we will have the body, right? So as I told you, in this class we are going to learn the types of CSS. So I told you there are three types of CSS. Let me first show you the inline CSS. So I told you the CSS has to be applied over the HTML element. So first let us have a HTML element. So I will use the h1 heading as a HTML element. Let me write here something. Say this is my first CSS class. So this thing will be written. So let me check without CSS how this element will appear now. Can you see? Let me open the browser so you can see this is how it will look. I have not applied the CSS, so this is the default heading that is showing over here. Right now I will apply CSS. So I want to change the color. So what is the default color? The default color, that is black, right? The default color of this H1 heading is black. So I want to change the default color of this heading tag, right, using the inline CSS. As I told you, inline CSS has to be written in the opening tag of that particular element where you want to do certain changes. So here I will write STY. So see, style. Always to give style to any given element you have to use this attribute. So this is a attribute, okay, right? The name of the attribute is STYL, style. So what style are you going to apply for the HTML tag? So let's say color. I want to change the font color. The font color of this heading was black by default, so I want to make it red. So I will just write red over here. So the font color, previously the font color was black. Now after I have applied this inline CSS, you can see the color will change to red. See, let me refresh the browser. Now you can observe the color is changed. So this is what I have done. I have applied the inline CSS, right? So now I will do one thing. I want to add the background color. You can see by default this H1 heading does not have any background color, but now I want to add the background color for this H1 heading. So let me add the background color. So I will write here background color. So background color I will give it to that green. So I want to have this heading a background color, and that background color will be green. So can you observe now? The text color is red and the background color is green. So let me make it white, WHITE, or you can say yellow. Let me make it to yellow, YELL. Okay, see. The text color will be yellow and the background color of this heading will be green. Now let us see. So background color is green and the text color is yellow, right? So just I have applied these two CSS property. So you can see, so this is a CSS property, right? In this property, this is the value, okay, this is the value, right? And this is where declaring, this is called declaration, right? So this is the value is YOLO, and this is the property, right? This is called property. The property is color property I have chosen, that is the fore color, or you can say the text color. To change the text color you will use the property name, that is color, and the value is the color. Which color you want, you can apply for that HTML element. And here is the property. The property here I have taken, that is background color, right? Background color, and this is the value, right? And this is how you can apply the internal CSS. And one thing is that here you can observe I have applied two separate CSS property along with their value. To do this, to separate each of those property from other property, I have used this semicolon. So you have to use the semicolon. If I take another property here, then also I need to separate. See, semicolon, and now I can take another CSS property. Let me say text align. I want to align this text at the right. See, another CSS property, text align and right. See, so here I have taken three separate CSS property. Can you see? The text previously was aligned to the left, now it is aligned to the right. Why? Because I have changed. By default the heading will be aligned to left, starting of the browser at the left side, but you can change the CSS property, right? See, so this CSS property I have changed, so that is text align. Now the text will be aligned to the right, right? I can make it to the center. I want this to be appear right at the center. So now you can see 3 CSS property. The first one is the text color, along with the value. This is a CSS second property, and this is the value, and this is the third CSS property along with the value. So all these 3 CSS property has been separated with the semicolon, right? So this is how you have to use the inline CSS. Check it out. So now this will appear right at the center. So this is inline CSS, right? Now if I take another heading over here, that is h1, another heading I have taken over here. Let me write here, I love my country. So another h1 heading I have taken, and here I have written I love my country. Let me save it and let me check it out over here. So can you see one thing? You must have observed that the CSS that I have applied for the first heading has not reflected here in the second heading, right? The CSS which I have applied for the first heading, that has not reflected in the second heading, right? So this is inline CSS, right? So if I want to apply this same 3 property in this second heading also, I have to write here separately, right? I have to write here separately. st, that is color will be yellow, background color will be green, and text align will be at the center, right? So you can see how many times we take heading element separately. I have to write this CSS code, right? Then only it will work. But in case of internal CSS, now I will show you how to use the internal CSS. I hope you have understood this inline CSS method. Now first let me delete this thing. So I have deleted. So one thing you all have noticed, that inline CSS has to be applied separately to each and every HTML element, right? Then only it will work. But in case of internal CSS, or you can say embedded CSS, that is the second type of CSS. So let me see how that is to be written over here. I told you, inside the heading we have to write the style, style opening tag, and style closing tag, right? So inside the heading you have to write style opening tag, style closing tag. Unlike here, in case of internal CSS, we have to use the style attribute in each and every element to apply the CSS for it, right? But here what I have done, inside the heading I have written the style opening tag and the style closing tag, and inside that I will add a selector. What is selector? Let me say h1. Now here the selector name is h1, that is called element selector, right? So I have specified the name of the element. So the name of the element is h1 heading. So here in the body I have 2 h1 heading, this one and this one, or I may take another one. Let me write here, I am a very good boy. So 3 lines I have written over here, all 3 are h1 heading. So here I have written h1, right? And now see, this is the declaration, this is called declaration. So this is the selector. And how will you declare the CSS property? By using the internal way of writing CSS, using this second curly bracket, right? So opening bracket and closing bracket, and inside that you have to add the CSS property. So here the CSS property I want to add that first one is color. Color will be yellow. Okay, see, I have written color, right? And the second one I will write background color. Background color will be green, right? Background color will be green. And the last one, text will be aligned to the center. So here you can see I want to apply this 3 CSS property. So this is the declaration, this is called declaration, this is called selector. So this selector will indicate all 3 heading. So I have just written once by using the internal CSS, or you can say embedded CSS method, right? Here I have once declared this h1 heading. So now this h1 selector will indicate all the h1 heading that is written inside the body section, and this declaration, inside the declaration whatever CSS property I have declared, all this CSS property will affect to all the given h1 heading, right? So these 3 property I have written once, only once, by declaring this h1 selector inside the style opening and closing style, and that has to be kept inside the opening and closing head tag. So now let me see, can you see? So if I remove this, let me remove this, let me save this file. If I go and check over here, see, this is the default. Now I will apply the CSS, see. So once I have just written here h1 written, I have here written h1. So this h1 selector will indicate all the h1 heading, all 3 h1 heading, and it will affect to all 3 headings, and it will change the property value. So the color property will be changed to yellow, the background color property will be changed to green, and the text align property that will be changed to the center. Now you can see all the default property will be changed now. So this is what you can apply the inline or the embedded CSS, right? So if I do one more thing over here, if I add the h2 heading, right? So here I have written h2 heading. Let me copy the same thing over here inside the h2 heading. Now another h2 heading I will take, h2 heading. So here I will another h2 heading I will take, h2 heading. So you can see 3 h2 heading I have taken, right? And so let me do one thing, I will arrange this thing in this order, right? Let me arrange this, one h1 followed by one h2, right? One h1 heading followed by one h2 heading. So I have arranged all the headings in this manner. Now let me save the file. If I go here and check it out, only you can see the h1 heading that is affected with the CSS property, right? But the h2 heading is having its default CSS property, its default property, or you can say HTML property. So if I want to change this h2 property, so separately I have to write here h2. So now h2 selector will select all the h2 headings. Let me say I want to change the color. Color will be say let me give a light color to it. So this will be the color, and I can also write in this way. Background color will be let's say black, and text align that will be at the right. Now let me see. So now this h2 selector, this is the selector and this is the declaration, right? So we have 3 separate property having its value assigned to those property, and now this h2 will indicate all the h2 heading, that is all 3 h2 heading that I have written over here, right? Now let me refresh the browser. You can see the black one is the h2 heading, all 3 h2 heading have been manipulated by the selector, because I have written the CSS property along with its value inside the declaration by using the curly bracket. So this is how you can write the embedded, or you can say the internal CSS. Now I will show you the external CSS, right? How you can use the external CSS. By the word external, you can guess one thing, that external means I will write something separately. Okay, I will write something separately. So let me delete all these things. So I have deleted all the files. Now you can see, if I go and refresh, so you can see these are all default CSS property, right? All the default CSS property. So let me show you. So first I will create another file. First we have to create a separate CSS file. Let's see. I will again go to file, now new file, right? Now see other. So in the left side box I have selected other. Now you can see the right side box appeared, and you can see the available options over here. So we are going to choose this cascading style sheet. Remember, cascading style sheet, right? Next. Okay, so now you can see that the location has been chosen, because previously I have already made the location. That is why that location only chosen. So you can also change the location if you want, but I will not change the location now. So you can see the name is new cascading style, so you can just make it, I want to change the file name, that is the CSS file, right? The name I have written over here, that is style. Okay, any name you may give as per you wish, right? So observe the location, C, then user, then bit2, then desktop, then CSS class folder, and inside this folder we have this style.css. Now remember, notice one thing, while we are creating the style sheet, or you can say the CSS external file, that file must have .css extension. Okay, to create HTML document we need to have the extension, that is .html. To create a CSS file, a separate CSS file, we need to have the extension, that is .css. Now let me click the finish button. So this file is created. Let me delete all whatever written over here. Now you can see. Now see, just observe the location in the folder. Okay, so let us see inside the desktop, HTML class, and now you can see over here not in HTML class, that was kept in CSS class, right? Now you can see this file. Okay, this file is created. So you can also use any other text editor. You can also use the simplest, that is Notepad. So while you will be creating the CSS file in the Notepad, two things you have to do. That is, the first thing is that .css, that should be the extension, .css, right? You have to remember this thing. And another thing is that change the file type to all file type, right? So those two things you have to keep in mind while you are going to create the external CSS file, right? Now see, this file has been created. Now I will start writing. Here is the file style.css. So here I will write h1, right? See h1. While this h1 as a selector will indicate these three heading that is kept, or that is written inside the type of css.html file. So that is the HTML file. In this HTML file we have these three heading. So now for those three heading I am writing the CSS property inside a separate file, that is style.css. So unlike the previous time I have written here only, right? So in inline css I have written inside this opening element tag, and in external while we are doing the internal CSS we have written inside the head and but now while we are working with the external mode of writing CSS in a separate file, we are writing the CSS property. Okay, so let's start. So color will be red, right? And background color, let's say background color will be yellow. I want the background color to be set as yellow, and text will be aligned right at the center, right? So what I have done, I have changed the 3 CSS property for the h1 heading. So now this h1 selector, that is element type selector, will manipulate this 3 heading, right? And this 3 heading that is written inside this HTML document, right? So for that, the next step I have to do, that is I have to create a link. How this file, what I have written over here, how this particular HTML file will understand that I have written CSS here. So I have to link this file with this file. So if I just go and check over here, you can see nothing has changed. Nothing has changed because this file can't recognize this style of CSS. I have to create a link between this file and this file. So this document can recognize the CSS property which I have declared inside a separate CSS file. So how to do that? So here inside the head here I will use the link tag, link, right? Now see href, right? Here I will write style style dot css, right? So this is the name, this is the name, style dot css. Now this link will search this name, right? It will jump to this file style dot css to access the CSS property which has been indicated by the h1 selector through this declaration. Whatever I have written property inside this declaration, this CSS property will be applicable to this h1 heading right over here in this HTML document. Now still not end. So relation, that is style style shet, right? Now if I go here and check, can you see the difference? So externally I have written this CSS property here. Okay, external file, in an external file I have written all the property. Now what I have done over here, I have created a link so that this document can identify whatever I have written here, right? So let me write some CSS property. So inside the declaration I will declare some CSS property for the h2 heading. Color will be, let's say, green. Color will be green, right? And background color will be, let's say, pink, right? And text will be aligned to right. So let me check. I hope you have understood how you can use the external CSS, internal CSS and inline CSS. What is the difference between inline CSS, internal CSS and the external CSS? Now let me show you another thing, that why do we use the external CSS? Is there any advantage of using the external CSS? Why I will write the CSS in a separate file? It could have been written here in the head only. It could have been written same as we have done in the internal CSS. Is there any advantage of using the style, that is the external CSS mode? Yes, there is an advantage. I will show you. See, let me create another file, right? So file, open my computer, see. Okay, so let me create file. See, new file, right, other HTML file. So I am creating another HTML file, okay, in the same location, right, in the same location. See, I will not change the location, I will just write the name 2nd second file. So second file, that means 2nd. You can see this will be the file name 2nd.html. So let me create. So you can see another file I have created, and let me write here HTML root tag, and here I will write the heading, head tag, and inside the head tag I will have a title to it, right, title, and let me give a title name, let's say second file, right. So now we will have a body, and now let us see the magic of using the external CSS. So see, here I will take heading, h1 heading, right, and I will write here hello my good friends, right, hello my good friends, right. So I have taken a h1 heading. Let me again do one thing, same thing I will write using the h2 and h3, and finally the h4. So you can see I have 4 heading over here. Same thing I have written inside the h1, h2, h3, h4. So see, second file.html. So if I go and access the second file, that is this file I have created. So you can see 4 heading I have taken, and this is the default HTML property for all those 4 heading, right. So now I will do one thing. Here inside the heading I will do a linking, see, link, link, right. Now hr, that is style, style dot css, relation style set, right. See, so I have not written any further CSS here. CSS is written once only, but in the second file I have created the link. Now this file will also have a link to this CSS file, this CSS style.css file, right. Now you can see what here difference. So can you observe? So multiple HTML file can inherit the CSS property from a single external CSS file. So this is the advantage, right. So if I write here h3, just let me change the text align part. So I want to change the text align part for this h3 heading. So in the second .html file, here I have got one h3 heading. So you can see now this h3 heading will also appear at the center. So what I have done, I have just once written here, and how many HTML file we may create. Okay, if I link all the HTML file to a single CSS file that is created externally, that time we did not require to write the CSS code in each and every HTML document, right. So this is the advantage of using the external CSS over the internal CSS and inline CSS. So I hope you have understood that what are the types of CSS that we can write, and how we can write all those CSS, and what is the advantage of inline CSS, and what is the advantage of using the internal CSS over inline CSS, and what is the benefit of using the external CSS over inline and the internal CSS. So in this class we have understood all these things in detail. So thank you for watching, and be patient till the end, and in the next class I will discuss about some CSS property, very important CSS property. So if you have not subscribed this channel yet, do subscribe the channel, and if you like this class, then do click the like button and share this class lecture to your friends, and thank you very much.